It's a new year of Iowa football, but the same issues are there. The passing game puts up 48 yards against Albany. Rapid reaction locked on Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is a rapid reaction Locked On Hawkeyes. Just back from Iowa City, and here with you as we break things down, what we saw in Iowa City. Iowa gets the win over Albany, 34-7, as the Hawkeyes kick off the 2025 season. Now, a beautiful day in Iowa City. Perfect tailgate weather, had the warmth, a little breeze. Everything was good vibes, and something different. A night kickoff to open up the season and that weird 5 o'clock start time. Unfortunately, that is not going to be the storyline of this one. It is going to be a lot about what we saw in the passing game, and with the million-dollar quarterback, Mark Gronowski, it did not go very good in game number one. My name is Trent Condon. I'm here with you on Locked On Hawkeyes. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio here in the state of Iowa and currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network, where you can hear me each weekday from noon to 2, and I'll be back at it on Monday. Going to be with you here throughout the course of the week, of course, leading into CyHawk week. We'll take a peek ahead to that just a little bit here later on, but the big story today is quarterback play and what we saw this evening at Kinnick. So let's get into it, and let's just start at the top. We're not going to dink around. We're not going to talk about the defense that improved as the game went on. We're not going to talk about some of the other things, Reese Vanderzee being out, those kind of things that we've talked about throughout the course of the week. We got football. And to say that this was a disappointment would be a huge understatement. The expectations that I certainly had for Mark Gronowski, what I thought we were going to see even in game number one. This is an Albany team that their coach quit on them. And they didn't hire a full-time coach. They have an interim coach in his stead. This is not taking on North Dakota State. That's not the program that is here. This is not South Dakota State. This is Albany. And to see Iowa struggle the way that they did in the passing game, it comes down to one thing. So seats, as I took the kids to the game here, and so sat in a little bit different spot than I normally do, and we were in the end zone. And so in the end zone, you get that all 22 look. That's a little bit difficult to decipher exactly, the depth of plays and things like that. But I think it gave me a very good vantage point. And one thing that I think was a huge takeaway watching this, and we'll re-watch things as we do during the course of the season on Sunday night. And when I do, we'll see if that matches up with what I saw inside the stadium. However, he had guys running open. Mark Gronowski had a couple of big opportunities to make big plays, and he wouldn't deliver the ball. So there was a play where Sam Phillips started out on the right side, cut back across. It was a deep route across the middle, and he's looking at him the whole time. Gronowski is. That is his read. He is all alone. I mean, guys are trailing him, and he didn't deliver. The throw also, I believe, to Phillips in the end zone. I thought it was deflected in the stadium. Then you see the replay. No. He short hopped it. He's throwing bounce passes. You don't get a half touchdown for that. You got to have to complete the ball in the air. He looked dreadful. His footwork was absolutely terrible. He looked skittish. He looked a lot like Cade McNamara. Those are words that I never thought I'd say this year. And yet here we are in week one against Albany, and it's already coming out. And you can say that maybe coming off the injury is a part of it. But this is very much becoming, and sometimes we got to listen, right? You got to have your ear to the ground and listen a little bit deeper. And I didn't do it a year ago. I didn't. When the reports were coming out of camp that Brendan Sullivan at times was out playing Cade McNamara, and that there were many in the offensive coaching room, including maybe the OC, that wanted to go with Sullivan as the starter over Cade McNamara, push to the side. McNamara's going to be okay. And we saw he wasn't. He was skittish himself. And he was not the quarterback. Certainly he was at Michigan. and he was damaged goods. And with Mark Gronowski coming off shoulder surgery with a big brace on a knee, a guy that looked overwhelmed. It looked like the moment was too big. This is a guy that won 2 FCS championships. This is a guy that has played in big environments. But you look at the biggest environments that he's played in, not very good early in his career against Iowa in the 7-3 game. And last year against Oklahoma State certainly wasn't great. When this is the performance that you get, 8 of 15, 44 yards, and a touchdown, wasn't a great throw either. You start, 2 of 8 in the ball game. You're not taking those shots down the field. That was what we saw at Kids Day. He was taking shots. He was pushing it. This was not part of the game plan. Nobody schemes in a way in a game, unless you're a service academy, to try to throw for 44 yards and get a win. This is not the game plan. This was a Mark Gronowski problem. This one's not on the coaches. This one is on number 11. He was bad. And to his credit, he said as much in the postgame. That was frustrating. That was irritating. That was more of the same. And as I said a year ago, we heard a ton about Cade McNamara struggling. Sullivan, maybe he's going to be a better fit for this team. I didn't want to believe it. And what have we been talking about a ton during this game? What have we continued to hear? And it hasn't gone very well for Mark Gronowski. And that it has for Hank Brown. Hank Brown, 2 different times. Tim Lester's talked about what a tremendous camp that Hank Brown has. And are we already there? Are we already there with the question? And this isn't just an Iowa thing, though at times it does feel like an Iowa thing, where the backup is always the guy. However, I'm already thinking, Mark Gronowski looked that bad. And if you had told me that at any point from the day he committed to yesterday, Friday, I would have called you crazy. Yes, maybe were there a better point at some point in the year you start having that conversation if this season doesn't go according to plan. Yeah, probably. But like this, gosh, crazy. Frustrating, but that's where we are. There was some good news, though, in the game. Yes, Iowa gets the win, does not cover, as they win at 34-7. But there were plenty of positives. The run game, Xavier Williams, the defense starting to turn it on. There were some good moments and some good players. And let's talk about the positives. Not all negative here. We're going to get into some of those positives here. It's a rapid reaction. Iowa gets a win over Albany as we break it down on Locked On Hawkeyes. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, maybe even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugia Ready. Rugia Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike usual pills that can take hours, Rugia's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugia might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rugia.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's Rugia, RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege with the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugia website for full safety information. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is also brought to you by FanDuel. Well, FanDuel Futures Day has come and gone, but there's still an opportunity for you to get involved with NFL season predictions with FanDuel. So much going on as they kick off the NFL season. Of course, we got college football that continues on Sunday and Monday. So much to get into. We go to the final month of the Major League Baseball season, and FanDuel has you covered with that and a whole lot more. Maybe tennis is your jam. Yeah, they got it there as well. You name it, they got it on the FanDuel app. Visit FanDuel today and start planning your future bets for the NFL season. FanDuel, play your game. Trent Condon back with you one more time here, Locked On Hawkeyes. We take a look at some of the positives from Iowa's win against Albany. Now, there was a point in the second half where Iowa was dominating. The defense was running around the field, but when Albany scores the touchdown to make it 7-3, give the Great Danes the lead, you're thinking, what's going on here? Their quarterback made a couple plays, certainly looked a lot better than Mark Gronowski did in the game, and give credit to Jack Shields going out there and making a couple of passes and a couple of tight windows that he was able to throw the ball into. But I think that also leads to some of those questions. And you see some of those passes that weren't complete, that next week against Iowa State, against Indiana, Oregon, Penn State, and I can keep going, those are going to be completions. Yeah, you look at the final numbers, they were good, but I think there were still some concerns. Lutmer was flying around and making some plays, also got sucked in a couple of times. The zone read plays, crashing into the defensive end, a couple of different times you just saw guys that were not a container. That's just not what we're used to with Iowa football. So I think that was a little bit of concern, even in the effort. But the biggest positive is what we saw out of Xavier Williams and the rest of the running game on Saturday evening. Xavier Williams finishes with 122 yards. And one of my favorite game notes that we got after the game talked about this as I bring it back up here, because he becomes the first freshman to go over 100 yards in his first career game since Sean Green did it in his debut against Ball State back in 2005. Because they're built very similar. I mean, you're looking for a comp. That's a pretty easy one, right? With those two guys, Sean Green, Xavier Williams. Big, physical, got some power that goes along with it. And Iowa just made an effort. We're going to run the football right at them. For whatever the reason that the passing game wasn't going, then you're left saying, let's go back to what worked. And the run game works. Tim Lester's got that part figured out. This Iowa offense is able to run the football. And against most everybody this year, I anticipate that they're going to be able to run the football. But if you can't pass it, it's going to be a problem. The injury to Kamari Moulton, he was in a sling, and you'd anticipate that's going to be something that's going to set him back, and the likelihood that Iowa's going to be without him. Great to see Jazion Patterson come in and do his Jazion Patterson things. I thought he was really good getting in there in the fourth quarter, getting some carries, and definitely pushing that pile. But now, what's the direction they go? I still believe that Terrell Washington is more of a third down type of back. I don't think he is your full-time type of guy, at least at this part in his career. Maybe he develops into that. And if we do go into next week anticipating that Kamari Moulton is not going to play, who's your starter at running back? Is it the veteran and Patterson? Guy that a couple of years ago had a big game and a couple of big runs against the Cyclones. Do you go that direction? Do you go with what feels maybe on paper is your number two in Washington? Or after what we saw from Xavier Williams, it's the time now. Go do it, young man. Here's your opportunity. Here's your chance. And against that Iowa State team that's got a ton of linebackers after all the injuries that they had last year, got one of the best defensive tackles, nose tackles in all of college football in Dominic Orange. Do you go with physicality? And do you go with Xavier Williams in this game? That'll be something that we're certainly going to be talking about in this one. Also got to see a little bit of Nathan McNeil. Other positives from the game, Drew Stevens doing what he did, a couple of field goals, including a career-long 55-yarder. That was great to see after, of course, the struggles 2 years ago at the end of the year, the bounce-back season that he had a year ago, and now maybe taking a final step forward. Dakin, just 2 punts, which is good. Don't want a lot of them. And we would sign up for 2 punts a game out of Reese Dakin as he averages 50 a punt. How about the special teams and the advantage that Iowa has? Albany kicked the ball out of bounds twice. Like, they didn't want to have anything to do with Caden Weechin. Speaking of Weechin, he does get a touchdown. Oh, and one other thing. Going back, because I mentioned we were in the end zone for the game, and after Gronowski ran it in for the touchdown, and then he's just laying in the end zone, and he can't really see where we are, what exactly was happening. Just knew it looked like a non-contact injury, and here we go again. Another injury. Is that what we're talking about, the quarterback spot? Luckily, it was just cramps. Boy, for a moment, I mean, there were some tense moments until you could figure out exactly what was going on and saw that it was a cramp that he was dealing with. We will continue to break it down as we do every single day here, Locked On Hawkeyes. Sunday night into Monday morning, we will have a look back as I will go back and take a look at things on the TV broadcast and break things down that way for you, a full overview of everything. And maybe I overreact to Mark Gronowski. We'll see if it looks a little bit different. A second viewing, that happens quite often. We will do that, get you set up, and then going to have a host of great guests coming up next week for you and get you ready for Iowa State next week. I was 1-0. It wasn't pretty. A win's a win. Kirk ties Woody Hayes now on the all-time wins list in the Big Ten, and a victory against the Cyclones would do it. But am I feeling as confident as it was before the season began? And also what we saw today out of Iowa State and their big win against South Dakota, that I was going to go in there and win their 7th straight game inside Jack Trice Stadium. No, I'd be lying to you if I said that I feel as confident, certainly not more confident, than I did at the beginning of this season. It's one game. Things can change. And the old adage, right? You make your biggest gains between week 1 and week 2. Let's hope that's the case for this Iowa team, and specifically for the Iowa passing game. Your team every day. That's what we do here on the Locked On Network. Big thank you to you everydayers with us each and every day. Glad to have you aboard with us here. Little rapid reaction here. A quick one, a little bit shorter than what we normally do, but want to get something out there over this long holiday weekend. But we will be with you on Monday with a full recap episode. Hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Really would appreciate that. Thank you to you everydayers. If you listen on the podcast side, hit us up with a 5-star review over on Apple. We'll talk again to you tomorrow. Until then, go Hawks.